So this is a video talking about why sex is marriage, and this has been a topic that I've discussed on other videos, and I also want to discuss why I have chosen to be a lovable authoritarian in my relationships with women from here on out, and also why the laws that are in our society penalize men that commit. And so without further ado, I'm going to make some biblical references throughout this video. And we're going to start with Matthew 19:4 through 6. But before that, I also just want to say that the reason that I'm going to be a lovable authoritarian in my relationships with women is that I know for a fact that I have a moral code. I know for a fact that I'm willing to submit to my moral code. And I'm well aware that the nature of women is to act in accordance to their emotions and where their emotions take them and how their emotions take them. And the reason that I know this is because I've had multiple women that are in relationships that are married, at least marriage as far as the society deems to be called marriage. You know, they are the ones that are trying to get me to talk to them and approach them. And so it's made me see the outlook of women a lot differently. And so I've also learned that if a relationship is not building or conducive to building an effective outcome that is useful to society and first and foremost the Most High, then you're probably in a useless relationship. And I know what it's like to be in this lingering period where you don't feel, specifically I'm speaking to the men right now, where you feel as though there's just not a woman even worth pursuing. And to be honest, that's kind of the case in a lot of different ways. And I know that the traditional women that are actually watching this video will understand, but I want to get into the scriptures on specifically why sex is marriage and why I do not ever plan to ever actually get married as far as the state is concerned or the government is concerned in my relationships. So in 19:4 through 6 of Matthew, the Pharisees are asking Jesus, isn't it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said unto them, Have ye not read that which made them at the beginning, made them male and female, and said, For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. So what Jesus is basically saying there is that all of the people that are actually in marriage, when he made them male and female, when they are no longer separated, no longer twain, but together, when they actually do come together, they become one flesh. And so the key differentiation that I think that we need to look at is it doesn't say male or female, it says male and female. Now, there's also a bunch of other mythologies, such as the Greek mythologies, that support this claim as well to some degree. Now, obviously, I'm not a proponent of Greek mythologies, and I do not consider myself Christian, but I do follow Christ. I do think there's a difference, in at least in our society nowadays. But with the overall arcing period of males and females, with the Greek mythology, it is said that Zeus actually separated males and females because they were once together. They once had two heads. They once had four arms and four legs. And then Zeus split them apart because the humans were becoming too powerful and too prideful and too arrogant. They thought that they could surpass the gods. And so Zeus split all of the humans up, and they were destined to and cursed to find and search for their other half, their other part, throughout the entire world for the rest of their days. And so that's just a short Greek mythology that you may or may not know about, but it's very interesting to me that that is just a story to begin with. Like someone recognized that there was some kind of link there. And then here you have Jesus saying that, yeah, if they're not twain and they are coming together, then they're married. and that's the way that you need to look at things, men. If you lie with a woman, and you need to think about it as if you're married now. Like, that is your woman, that is your man, woman. And so that's the way that I think you should go about it. And again, if you're a man that is practicing concubinism, or if you have multiple women that you are involved with and dealing with, that's your prerogative, that's up to you. I don't think that's for me. I think dealing with one woman would probably be enough to some degree. And I have seen other YouTube channels that have talked about concubinism and concubines and having multiple women, and how it's actually seen as a noble act, because it takes a truly noble man to be able to take care of multiple women and still treat them and lead them in a certain way to provide and protect for them as well. So I don't know if I'm not saying that I agree with that. I'm not saying that I disagree with that. I'm just giving you guys the information out there. Now also, I'm going to go to another set of verses in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. There's a lot of different verses in this chapter specifically that relay why there is going to be a marriage after having sexual relationships. But first, I'll read a passage from 1 Corinthians 6:16, which says, "What? Know ye not that ye which is joined to a harlot is of one body? For two, saith he, shall be one flesh." So Paul here is referencing what Jesus said about the two will become one flesh. So men, even if you lay with a woman that is a whore, keeping it real here, if you lay with a woman that's a whore, you are one with that woman. And not only are you taking on her energy, which is probably highly seductive and highly sinful and highly problematic to anything that you're trying to build, because it's probably going to be like a Jezebel spirit. Not only that, but you're taking on the other energies that the men that she's been with are and have been occupying with her. So you're taking on a lot of different kinds of chaotic energy. And this is why I say vetting women is so important. And you have to have the proper communication. I know personally in my past where if I just communicated a little bit better with certain kinds of women, we wouldn't have had any type of miscommunication, and then something would have been a lot more cleaner down the line. And there probably would have been something to create, but there was a miscommunication. And that's why I say communication is key. You have to know how to communicate. Men, you have to be honest. I think women have to be honest. And I think it's best if everybody involved is just transparent with each other. And this is also something that I've learned recently. It's that if if you are faithful to the end in your relationships and you are truly doing the work in the relationships and you're trying to work things out and this other person is showing that they actually want to work things out, that's something that you can at least deal with. You can work with that. You can work. It may not always be easy, and it may be still kind of like a pain in the ass sometimes, but it's not like it's a burden. It's not like weighing you down. It's actually making you a better person. The challenges and the trials that you guys are going through are actually making you better people overall. And so that's, I would say, more important in the long run. And that's just something to think about. But also, going back to the scriptures here, it says in 7:9 of 1 Corinthians, it says, "If they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn." So, what exactly does that mean? It's better to marry than to burn. Well, if you're filled with a desire, and this other person is filled with a burning desire, and the lust is almost eating you up inside, the lust is like burning at you and in you, and it's burning in them, Paul says it's better to marry than to burn with that lust. And it's not necessarily lust per se either. It's a reverence to one degree or another. And it also says in the verse right before this, in 7:8, it says, "I say therefore to the unmarried and to the widows, it is good for them to abide even as I." So what does that mean? It means to be celibate. If you're not married, if you're not actually involved with anybody or dealing with anybody, it's better to be just celibate. Because Paul, the person who wrote this, was celibate. And so he's saying, yes, abide by what I'm doing if you are not married or if you're a widow. Sometimes it's going to be better that way. And then it goes on to say, "And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord. Let not the wife depart from her husband. But if she depart, let her remain unmarried or to be reconciled to her husband. And let not the husband put away his wife. But to the rest speak I, not the Lord. If any brother hath a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away." Okay. I'm going to keep going and then we'll come back to this. "And the woman which hath a husband that believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him." So the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. So you potentially can be sanctified by one another if you're not fully with the truth. At least if one of you is not fully with the truth. Like, it's not that you're really lukewarm and you're not cold, but you're not like burning hot either with the fire of the Word of God. And so what this is saying is that if you are pleased to dwell with the person that you want to be with, if you really want to be with the person that you've laid with, and they want to be with you, well then there's no need for you not to be together. If you guys are both willing to work at the relationship, and if you guys are both willing to be sanctified with one another. And so this is another example of why sex is marriage, is that it can still bring a profound change to people's lives. Now, again, I've been on semen retention for over a year and nearly 4 months now. And the last time I was intimate with anyone was over 2 years ago. And the reason for that is because in my earlier years, it's not that I went crazy or anything. I didn't have like a crazy lustful past, but I did participate in lustful behaviors, and I did participate in one night stands, and I did participate in, over drinking and overuse of all these other alcohol and drugs, and I did have that background. I did have that background. Was I ever letting myself go too far with it? I don't necessarily think so. I didn't go to the place of no return, obviously, because I'm here now. Thank God and praise God. But that doesn't mean that I had to repent for all of those things. And so that's what I've been doing for the past 2 years plus, is repenting. And semen retention has helped tremendously with that. Semen retention for me, I think this can happen for a female that is just going through any kind of celibate part of her life too. It's that celibacy, because it's better to abide even as Paul, as a celibate like Paul. Celibacy brings about a profound transformation in your mind and your body and your soul. And you really start to see your body as a temple, which sounds so cliche, but it really is the case that you see your body as something to be valued. You see your body as something to be cherished. And you see the body as a way to glorify and represent what the will of the Most High ought to be represented as. So I hope this message was clarifying. I hope this message was useful. If you do have extra questions on this topic, please let me know. But I do also want to close out by saying, like the laws that we have in place in our society that are not God's laws, that are society laws, that are just government laws when it comes to marriage, I don't see any reason to get married on paper anymore. I don't see how that would be beneficial to me at all. Because there's been countless times where I've seen comments and I've received messages on people that are talking about their relationships and such, where they put all of their eggs in a basket, they got married, and 20 years later, after their kid went off to college, the kid came home, found his mom with someone else, and boy, oh boy, did he start participating in hookup culture, and he started participating in all of these fornication behaviors. And it also does say in the Bible that fornication is a sin against your own body. And so if you are fornicating, what you are doing is you are literally abusing yourself. Not only are you using someone else as like a self-masturbation tool, like you're not sharing a meaningful connection. You're not creating something that works. You are just exhibiting the pleasures of the flesh, and you're using these people as mechanisms for self-pleasure, whether you're male or female. But when I read those comments and I saw what happened to this guy, and I thought to myself, this is like the new norm apparently in our society, where If you're not raised by a single mother, then you're going to come home to some other guy on your mom. Like that's wild. That's not supposed to be how life is. You know, that's not supposed to be what family is about. And yet we've gotten to a point in our society to where that's the norm. And so what ended up happening was the dad in the situation, according to this comment, the dad ended up getting a divorce. But guess what? The mom still got half his money, still got half his assets, and she's the fucking one who cheated. Excuse my French, but she was the one that cheated. And she still got half his stuff. So we live in a society where, as a man, you can be doing everything right. You can be doing everything right. And yet you'll still get your ass to kiss at the end of the line if your wife messes up. Like, it's going to be your ass you have to kiss at the end of the line. That's crazy. So no, I'm not going to get married legally as far as the government goes. But I will get married legally under God's law. And I plan to still have a family. I still plan to create generational wealth. I still plan to leave a legacy to my children. But I will be damned before I get involved with the government as far as my marriage with my woman or women go. So with that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.